So, what if the zodiac sign you've identified with your entire life is just completely wrong the second you walk into your
Oh,
office?
that is such a good way to frame it.
Right. I mean, what if your steady, grounded Taurus approach to wealth is actually governed by this, like, blazing Leo sun? Or what if the reason you keep clashing with your siblings has literally nothing to do with your main birth chart?
Exactly. Nothing at all.
And it has everything to do with a hidden microscopic mathematical division of the sky that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah, I mean, it is a completely paradigm-shifting way to look at yourself. You think you know your astrological DNA, but you're really only looking at the surface level.
Right. And I think the best way to visualize this, and we see this analogy used a lot in the sources when people start studying this, is to think of your standard birth chart, the D1 chart that everyone knows, as the outside of a house.
Oh, yes, the house analogy is perfect.
Yeah, so it's like you drive by, you look at the D1, and you can see the general shape. You know if it's a two-story colonial or like a modern bungalow. You know if the roof is caving in or if it has a really nice wraparound porch.
Right, you get the curb appeal.
Exactly. But you have absolutely no idea what the furniture looks like inside. You don't know if the kitchen is a total disaster area or if the bedroom is this perfectly curated, serene sanctuary. You're just staring at the siding.
That is a fantastic visual. I mean, the D1 gives you the architecture, the broad physical reality, but it really doesn't give you the lived experience inside those individual rooms.
Exactly. And that is where divisional charts, or as they are known in Vedic astrology, the Vargas, come in. They are the keys to unlocking every single specific room in that house.
They absolutely are.
So our mission for this deep dive is to deliver an absolute beginner's masterclass on Vedic astrology divisional charts. We're going to take the source material provided to us and, well, we're going to completely demystify the complex math.
Because I know it sounds super intimidating. Math and astrology together usually make people want to run for the hills.
Oh, 100%. But more importantly, we are going to teach you, the listener, the brilliant mental shortcuts developed by the ancient sages so you can actually calculate these charts in your head.
And I promise, the geometry is actually incredibly intuitive once you see the patterns. It's not just arbitrary math. It's literally a reflection of natural laws.
It really is beautiful once it clicks. And because there is just so much rich, dense material here in our sources, we have a pretty big announcement.
Yes, we do.
We have decided to deliver this as a two-part masterclass. So right here, right now, in part one, we will cover the foundational charts. The D2 for wealth, the D3 for siblings, the D7 for children, and the all-important D9 for marriage and inner strength.
Which are huge topics on their own.
Totally. Then, without taking a break, we are going to transition straight into part two, where we will tackle the career and karma charts. So that's the D10, the D12, and the incredibly deep kind of dark shadow of the D30.
It is a massive journey. I mean, we are going to move from the broadest strokes of a human life all the way down to the single mathematical degree of a person's deepest, most hidden flaws.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Before we start doing any mental math or, trying to figure out where your moon goes, we need to lay the foundation.
Right, we need to define our terms.
Yeah. What exactly is a Varga? If the D1 is the outside of the house, how are these Vargas actually built?
Well, to understand a Varga, we really have to start with the basic fundamental geometry of the sky. The entire zodiac, the belt of the heavens that surrounds the Earth, is a circle, and a circle is 360 degrees. In astrology, we divide that 360-degree circle into 12 equal signs, or Rashis. So if you divide 360 by 12, you get 30.
Okay, math checks out.
Right, so every standard sign, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and so on, is exactly a 30-degree slice of the sky.
Got it. So if I say, for example, that my sun is in Leo, I'm saying my sun sits somewhere, literally anywhere within that specific 30-degree chunk of the 360-degree pie.
Precisely. And that main birth chart, where we just look at those 12 broad 30-degree slices and place the planets inside them, that's called the D1 chart.
Okay, the D1.
And the sources tell us that the D1 chart is primarily used to judge the physical body, the general constitution, your health, your complexion, the overall physical structure. It's the broad reality of your physical incarnation in this lifetime.
So, like we said, the outside of the house, the physical structure just standing on the street.
Yes. But human life is not just a physical body, is it? I mean, we have finances, we have siblings, we have careers, we have spiritual lives, we have deep psychological traumas.
Unfortunately, yes.
Right. So the ancient sages, specifically Maharishi Parashara, introduced the concept of Vargas. The word Varga literally translates to a division or a fraction.
A fraction, okay.
You take that standard 30-degree slice of a sign, and you mathematically divide it into smaller, highly specific fractions to analyze particular aspects of life. You are literally separating out the material, the spiritual, and the physical.
So it's like the D1 is the whole pie, but Vargas are taking one single slice of that pie and putting it under a microscope to see what the ingredients actually are.
Exactly.
And if I'm understanding the sources correctly, the why behind this is actually the most important part. I mean, we don't do this map just for fun. We do it because the D1 can sort of lie to you, right?
Well, lie might be a strong word, but it can certainly obscure the full truth. A planet might look incredibly weak or poorly placed or debilitated in your main D1 chart.
Like it's just struggling.
Right. Let's say your Jupiter looks terrible from the outside. You might think, oh man, my Jupiter's ruined. I'm going to struggle with wealth and wisdom forever.
Right.
But when you zoom into a specific Varga, say, the D2 chart for wealth, that exact same Jupiter, mathematically speaking, might actually fall into its exaltation sign or its own home sign. Suddenly, the prediction changes entirely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you aren't doomed to poverty just because the outside of the house looks a bit weather-beaten. Inside, the safe might be completely full of gold.
I love that. And for the listener, I mean, this means you are so much more than that one single chart you print out online. But I do want to push back on something here, or at least, ask for some clarification.
Sure, go for it.
Our sources mention that a Rashi, a 30-degree sign, can theoretically be divided into as many as 60 divisions. But we are only talking about a specific set of 16 today, which the texts call the Shodas Vargas.
That's right.
If there are 60 possible divisions, meaning we could cut the sky into half-degree slivers, why do we only care about these specific 16? I mean, why stop there?
It's a really important question. While you could mathematically slice that 30 degrees into 60 1/2-degree pieces, and there actually is a Varga for that, the D60, which is intensely karmic, Maharishi Purusharth specifically highlighted these 16.
Why these 16, though?
Because they correspond to the most significant universal pillars of the human experience. I mean, look at what they cover. You have a chart for your body, a chart for your wealth, one for your siblings, your property, your children, your spouse, your career, your parents, your vehicles, your education, your spiritual worship, and your flaws.
Wow, yeah, that really covers the bases.
Right. These 16 divisions cover the major milestones and environments that literally shape a human soul on Earth.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. We are focusing on the rooms we actually live in every day, not, the tiny, obscure crawl spaces in the attic.
Yeah.
We want to know about our money, our family, and our jobs.
Exactly.
So, with that foundation set, I think it's time to officially begin part 1 of our masterclass. We're going to start with the absolute simplest division you can make. Taking that 30-degree sign and just cutting it right down the middle with a knife, slicing the pie in half.
Yes. This brings us to the D2, the Hora chart. Interestingly enough, the word Hora is where we actually get the English word hour.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. In the context of Vedic astrology, the D2 is the room you enter when you want to analyze wealth, finance, prosperity, and poverty.
So if you were listening to this and you want to know if you're going to be rich or how you personally handle money or where your financial stability comes from, this is the room you unlock.
Correct. Now let's look at the math, which is beautifully simple for this one. You take a 30-degree sign and you divide it by 2. It gives you 2 halves, each being exactly 15 degrees.
Right.
The first Hora is from 0 degrees up to 15 degrees. The second Hora is from 15 degrees up to 30 degrees.
Okay, I'm with you so far. 30 divided by 2 is 15. I mean, even I can do that mental math.
Good. Because now, here is the mental shortcut for calculating where a planet actually goes in the D2 chart. Unlike the main birth chart where all 12 signs, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, rule different things and host different planets, in the D2 chart, only the sun and the moon rule these halves.
Wait.
What? Yep. They are the absolute only 2 landlords allowed in this entire neighborhood.
Wait, really? Just the sun and the moon. The other planets like Mars, Jupiter, Venus, they don't get a say in the D2. They don't own any of the real estate.
They exist within the chart, of course.
Yeah.
Your Jupiter will still be placed somewhere in the D2, but the rulership of the spaces, the actual signs of the D2, are exclusively given to the sun, which rules the sign of Leo, and the moon, which rules the sign of Cancer.
Oh, okay. That is wild.
It is. And the shortcut for figuring out which landlord gets your planet works like this. You have to look at whether the planet in your main D1 chart is sitting in an ODD sign or an even sign.
Okay, let's make sure we have this straight for the listener. Odd signs are the 1st, 3rd, 5th, so that's Aries, Gemini, Leo, Libra, Sagittarius, Aquarius.
Yep.
And even signs are the 2nd, 4th, 6th, so Taurus, Cancer, Virgo, Scorpio, Capricorn, Pisces.
Exactly. Now here's the rule. If a planet is in an ODD sign, the sun rules the first half.
Okay.
So if your planet is sitting anywhere from 0 degrees to 14 degrees and 59 minutes in an odd sign in the D2 chart, it automatically goes into the sun sign, which is Leo.
Got it.
And the moon rules the second half. So if that same planet is from 15 degrees up to 30 degrees in an odd sign, it goes into the moon sign, Cancer, in the D2.
Okay, let me just repeat that to lock it in. Odd signs start with the sun. The first 15 degrees belong to the sun. The back 15 degrees belong to the moon.
Perfect. And in even signs, the rule perfectly flips. The moon gets the first half, 0 to 15 degrees. The sun gets the second half, 15 to 30 degrees.
Okay, I want to try this. Let me be the guinea pig here. Let's say I'm looking at my birth chart and I have Venus sitting at 20 degrees of Taurus. I want to know where my Venus goes in the D2 wealth chart.
Okay, walk me through it.
Step 1. Taurus is the second sign, so it's an even sign.
Yes, Taurus is even.
Step 2. My Venus is at 20 degrees. Now, 20 degrees is past 15, so it falls in the second half of the sign. So I have an even sign, second half.
Wow.
Now, if I remember the rule, odd signs start with the sun. Even signs start with the moon. So for Taurus, the first half is the moon, the second half is the sun. Therefore, since my Venus is in the second half, it goes to the sun. My Venus moves into Leo in my D2 chart.
Yes. And what that tells us, fundamentally, is that your Venus, the planet of luxury and comfort, is operating under the active solar energy of wealth creation in your life, rather than the passive lunar energy.
Wait, can we pause on that? Because that brings up the huge why question. Why are only the sun and moon allowed to rule the Hora? I mean, we have the planet of expansion, Jupiter, and the planet of luxury, Venus. Why are they banned from owning real estate in the wealth chart?
It's a profound philosophical point that the ancient texts explain through the nature of these two luminaries. Wealth and prosperity are fundamentally binary forces in human existence.
Binary how?
They are either solar, meaning active creation, output, burning energy to forge gold, taking risks, leading a company, or they are lunar, meaning passive preservation, saving, receiving, nurturing assets, letting the tide bring the wealth in. Yeah, you are either actively hunting for wealth like the sun, or you are magnetically attracting and storing it like the moon. The other planets, like Jupiter or Venus, are just agents acting within those two primary binary forces.
Active creation versus passive preservation. That makes so much sense. So if a listener calculates their D2 and finds like almost all their planets piled into the moon sign of Cancer, they might be someone who builds wealth through saving, investing in real estate, or nurturing long-term passive assets.
Exactly.
But if they are all in the sun sign of Leo, they have to hustle, create, lead, and burn energy to get rich.
Exactly. It shows your innate financial operating system.
Yeah.
But our sources give us one more vital sub-rule for analyzing the D2 in depth, and it adds this amazing layer of precision. It's not just about which half you are in. You can actually divide that 15-degree Hora even further into thirds.
Thirds. Okay, so a 15-degree Hora divided by 3 gives us 3 5-degree chunks. 0 to 5, 5 to 10, and 10 to 15.
Right. The text states that planets placed in the first 1/3 of a Hora, so the first 5 degrees of their respective half, are the absolute strongest for generating wealth.
Okay, good to know.
The middle 1/3, the middle 5 degrees, yields medium strength, and the last 1/3, the final 5 degrees of the Hora, yields practically nil results.
Oh, wow. Okay, let me do the math on my Venus example again. I said Venus was at 20 degrees of Taurus. Taurus is even, so the moon rules 0 to 15, and the sun rules 15 to 30. My Venus is in the sun's half.
Yep.
But wait. The sun's half starts at 15, so the first third is 15 to 20, the middle third is 20 to 25, the last third is 25 to 30. If my Venus is exactly at 20 degrees, it's right on the cusp, but technically entering the middle third, so it has medium strength.
Yes, but what if your Venus was at 29 degrees of Taurus?
29 degrees, that would be in the very last 1/3 of the sun's Hora, between 25 and 30. The rule says the last third yields nil results. So even though my Venus is in the active wealth-creating half of the sun, it has almost no strength to actually produce that wealth.
Precisely. It is exhausted by the time it reaches the end of its designated boundary. The energy is just fading. It's like working incredibly hard on an active project, but running out of funding right before the finish line. The active effort is there, but the yield is nil.
That is incredible precision, and a little terrifying if you have planets at 29 degrees.
It really is.
Okay, that's the D2, the house of wealth. governed purely by the sun and the moon. We've sliced the sign in half. Now that we've mapped out the wealth we accumulate, the natural next question is, well, who do we share it with? Or who do we fight over it with?
Naturally.
And that brings us to our siblings and the D3 chart.
Yes, the D3 is called the Drekkana chart. If the D2 is dividing the 30-degree sign by 2, the D3 is, as the name implies, taking that 40 degrees and dividing it by 3.
Meaning we get 3 equal chunks of exactly 10 degrees each. 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30. What exactly does this room in the house reveal about us?
The Drekkana is heavily analyzed for your relations with brothers and sisters, your co-borns.
Yeah.
It shows their influence on you, your dynamic with them, and even their property and fortunes.
Okay.
But it has a secondary, much more ominous use that astrologers pay close attention to. The D3 is also used to diagnose deep-seated disease and determine the nature of death.
Whoa, okay.
Specifically, advanced astrologers look at the 22nd Drekkana in the chart to understand how the physical body might ultimately fail.
Okay, siblings and the nature of death. That is quite the combination for one room. I'm guessing they are connected through the idea of, like, shared physical DNA or bodily constitution.
There is certainly a shared link in the physical vessel, yes, how you and your co-borns manifest physically. But let's focus on how to calculate this chart in our heads, because the logic behind the math perfectly explains why this is the chart of siblings.
I'm ready. 3 10-degree chunks. What's the shortcut?
The shortcut here relies entirely on the natural elements of the zodiac: fire, earth, air, and water. Here's the rule. The first Drekkana, from 0 to 10 degrees, always falls in the exact same sign the planet is currently in.
Okay, same sign.
The second Drekkana, from 10 to 20 degrees, falls in the 5th sign, away from the original sign.
5th sign away.
And the third Drekkana, from 20 to 30 degrees, falls in the 9th sign, away from the original sign.
Okay, wait, let me process that. Same. 5th, 9th. Oh, I see what's happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah. The numbers 1, 5, and 9 are very specific in astrology. They are called trines. And trines mean they are all signs of the exact same element. Like Aries is a fire sign. If you count 5 signs away from Aries, you land on Leo, which is also fire. If you count 9 signs away, you land on Sagittarius, which is fire. So the D3 chart never lets a planet change its element.
Exactly. And what that tells us fundamentally is that the D3 chart is basically like a family tree. You never leave your elemental family. When you are dealing with siblings, you are dealing with people who share your root DNA, your elemental base.
That is so cool.
You are the same blood, the same element. You might express it differently. One might be the initial spark of Aries, one might be the roaring, steady fire of Leo, but you are fundamentally made of the same stuff.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. Let me practice the mental shortcut to make sure I don't mess up the counting. Let's say I have Saturn at 25 degrees of Taurus.
Okay.
Step 1. Taurus is an earth sign. Step 2, 25 degrees is in the third Drekkana because it's between 20 and 30 degrees.
Right.
The rule says the third Drekkana falls in the 9th sign from the original sign.
Correct. Now walk me through the counting. Do you start with Taurus as 1 or is the next sign 1?
Oh, good catch. In Vedic astrology, you always count the sign you are currently in as number 1. So I have to keep 9 spaces, starting with Taurus as 1. Taurus is 1, Gemini is 2, Cancer 3, Leo 4, Virgo 5, Libra 6, Scorpio 7, Sagittarius 8, Capricorn is 9. So my Saturn moves to Capricorn in the D3 chart.
Perfect calculation. And notice the elemental consistency. Taurus is an earth sign, and Capricorn is also an earth sign. You stayed within the family tree. Your Saturn moved from the fixed earth of Taurus to the cardinal, active earth of Capricorn when dealing with your siblings.
That is actually so easy to do in your head once you realize you just jump to the next sign of the same element. You don't even really need to count to 5 or 9. You just think, what's the next fire sign? What's the fire sign after that?
Precisely. It's a great shortcut. Now, for the in-depth analysis of the D3, the sources give us specific parameters. To truly read the Drekkana chart for siblings, you don't just look at the planets in a vacuum. You must triangulate the information.
Triangulate. Okay.
First, you look at the third house lord of the D3 chart. Second, you must look at Mars, because Mars is the ultimate karaka, or universal significator, for siblings and courage. And third, you must look at the third house from wherever Mars is sitting in that chart.
So it's not just a quick glance. Mars is the generic boss of all siblings everywhere, but the third house is your specific department of siblings in this lifetime. You have to check on both to see how they are getting along. What does it mean for a listener if, say, their Mars is really badly placed in this D3 chart?
It could indicate that the fundamental energy of brotherhood or mutual courage is blocked. It might manifest as constant competition with a sibling, or perhaps a sibling who struggles heavily in their own life, draining your resources.
Wow. And the text also mentions something about the modality of the signs. Movable, fixed, common.
Yes, the text provides a highly nuanced rule based on the mobility of the signs. In movable signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn planets posited in the first Drekkana yield the best results.
Okay.
In fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius planets in the second Drekkana are best. And in common, or dual signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces planets in the third Drekkana give the best results.
Okay, there are layers upon layers here. It's not just where does it fall, it's is it happy where it fell based on the modality of the sign. So if I have a planet in a fixed sign, it really wants to be in that middle 10 to 20 degree chunk to be most effective for my siblings.
Exactly. Vedic astrology is nothing if not fractal in its detail.
All right, we've looked at our wealth, and we've looked at the siblings we grew up with, but what about the family we create? That brings us to section 4, the D7, the Saptamsha chart.
Saptamsha literally translates to the 7th division. Here we are taking the 30-degree sign and dividing it by 7. Mathematically, that gives us divisions of roughly 4 degrees, 17 minutes, and 8.57 seconds each.
Okay, I gotta be honest, that math is getting a bit hairy for a mental shortcut. 4 degrees and 17 minutes. I don't think I can do that in my head on the fly.
And you aren't expected to. For the D7, astrologers usually memorize the degree boundaries or simply use a table to know which of the 7 divisions a planet falls into.
Yeah.
But the counting rule itself, once you know your division number, is actually quite elegant.
Oh, phew. Okay.
But before we get to the math, let's establish the meaning. The D7 room in our house is all about progeny. It is the chart of children, grandchildren, their well-being, their potential, and your karmic relationship to them.
So if a listener is asking about starting a family or trying to understand a difficult dynamic with their teenager, you might pull up the main D1 to see the 5th house of children, but then you immediately dive into the D7 to get the microscopic, detailed view.
Correct. The D1 tells you if the room exists. The D7 tells you if it's full of joy or full of stress. But I want to note a fascinating historical caveat provided in our sources regarding this chart.
Oh, what's that?
While D7 universally signifies progeny for everyone, some classical astrologers believe that specifically in female charts, the D7 is also read to signify the husband's well-being and prosperity.
But really, why the husband's well-being in the chart of children?
It's a reflection of ancient cultural frameworks. Historically, a woman's long-term prosperity and the legacy of her marriage were intrinsically tied to the children she produced and the stability of the husband providing for that lineage. It's a layers interpretation unique to the Saptamsha that shows how intertwined marriage, children, and survival were.
That's a really interesting cultural artifact embedded right into the math of the astrology. Okay, so let's talk about that math. How do we mentally calculate where a planet goes, assuming we've used a table to figure out which of the 7 divisions we are in?
Let's assume you know your planet is in, say, the 4th division of a sign. Here is the mental shortcut for where that planet actually lands in the D7 chart.
Yep.
In ODD signs, you start counting from the sign itself.
Simple enough.
In even signs, you start counting from the 7th sign away from it.
Okay, let me pause. The 7th sign away, meaning the sign exactly opposite it on the zodiac wheel.
Exactly. The polar opposite.
Why? Why do odd signs start at home, but even signs start across the street? Is there a logical reason, or is it just arbitrary math?
There is profound logic to it. In astrology, the first house is the self, and the 7th house is the partner, the opposite pole of creation. When we deal with creation and progeny, the D7, we're dealing with the merging of self, the first, and other, the 7th.
Right.
Odd signs are masculine, initiating, projecting outward from the self. So they start at 1. Even signs are feminine, receiving, drawing in from the other. So they shift the axis and start from the 7th, the point of partnership. It perfectly balances the axis of creation.
Oh my God, that is stunning. The math literally encodes the biological and spiritual act of creating a child through partnership.
It really does.
Okay, I need to do a live example to prove to the listener that this counting isn't as scary as it sounds. Let's say I have the sun in Scorpio in my main D1 chart. Scorpio is the 8th sign, so it's an even sign. And let's say my software or my cheat sheet table tells me that my sun's specific degree places it in the 6th division out of the 7.
Okay, so the sun is in an even sign, and it's in the 6th division. Walk me through the shortcut. Do you start counting from Scorpio?
No. Because it's an even sign, I don't start at home. I have to start counting from the 7th sign away from Scorpio, which is exactly opposite to it on the wheel. The opposite of Scorpio is Taurus.
Correct. Taurus is your starting point. Now what?
Now I have to count 6 spaces. because my sun is in the 6th division. I start with Taurus is 1, Taurus is 1, Gemini is 2, Cancer 3, Leo 4, Virgo 5, Libra 6. I land on Libra. So my sun in Scorpio in the D1 chart becomes a sun in Libra in my D7 chart.
Yes, and what that tells us fundamentally is that your ego and soul, represented by the sun, moves from the intense, secretive, watery sign of Scorpio into the balanced, diplomatic, relationship-focused sign of Libra when it comes to your children. You might be intense in your daily life, but with your kids, you strive for harmony and fairness.
That is so cool. Start at the front door across the street. That is a perfect way to remember the even signs in D7. Okay, we have arrived at the big one, the chart everyone talks about, the D9, the Navamsha chart. Our outline literally calls this the crown jewel.
And it truly, undeniably is. The D9 is the most important divisional chart in all of Vedic astrology. It is universally considered the supplementary birth chart. It is so vital, so foundational, that traditional astrologers will rarely, if ever, venture a prediction based solely on the D1 without confirming it against the D9.
Why is it so powerful? What specific room is this in our house?
On a practical level, the D9 reveals the truth of your married life. It shows the inner character of your spouse, the deep karmic ties of the partnership, and the hidden happiness or miseries of a union. But beyond marriage, on a spiritual level, it reveals the true, underlying, hidden strength of your planets.
How so?
Well, a planet might look exalted and powerful in the D1, but be debilitated and weak in the D9. That means its outward success is built on a foundation of sand. It will eventually crumble under pressure. Firstly, a weak planet in D1 that is exalted in D9 means a person who struggles outwardly, perhaps late to bloom, but has immense, unshakable inner reserves that ultimately lead to triumph.
So if the D1 is the PR campaign, the D9 is what's actually happening behind closed doors when the cameras are off. It's the absolute truth of a planet's dignity.
Exactly. Now, what's fascinating here is the profound, almost mystical connection this specific chart has to the literal stars in the sky. It's not just a random mathematical division by 9. This is where the math of astrology proves its elegance.
Oh, I love when the math gets mystical. Lay it on me. Why divide by 9?
In Vedic astrology, beyond the 12 signs of the zodiac, the sky is divided into 27 constellations called nakshatras. These are the actual star clusters the moon passes through. Each of these 27 nakshatras is further divided into 4 quarters called padas.
Okay, let me do the math. 27 nakshatras times 4 quarters each. That equals 108 total padas, or steps, around the sky.
Right. 108, a sacred number in many Eastern traditions. Now remember, the whole zodiac is a 360-degree circle. If you divide the 360-degree zodiac by those 108 steps, you get exactly 3 degrees and 20 minutes per step.
3 degrees and 20 minutes. Okay, I'm following.
Now, let's look at the Navamsha, the D9. Navamsha means dividing a 30-degree sign by 9. If you divide 30 degrees by 9, you get exactly 3 degrees and 20 minutes.
Oh, wow. So Navamsha division is the exact same size as a nakshatra quarter. They perfectly map onto each other.
They perfectly match. That is exactly why the Navamsha is the crown jewel. It is the mathematical bridge between the solar zodiac of the 12 signs and the lunar zodiac of the 27 stars.
Yeah.
Every single 3-degree, 20-minute step you take in the sky is one Navamsha, and simultaneously one step through the actual constellations. It is the heartbeat of the cosmos, perfectly synchronized.
That gives me chills. The math is just so beautiful. But wait, if every single sign is cut into 9 tiny pieces, that means calculating where a planet goes is going to be incredibly complex, right?
Actually, the ancient astrologers were so brilliant that they developed 3 entirely distinct mental shortcuts for calculating the D9. You don't have to memorize a massive table. You can use whichever of these 3 methods makes the most sense to how your brain works.
Oh, I love a multiple choice masterclass. Let's walk the listener through all 3 methods step by step. I want to test them all.
Let's do it. Method 1 is what I call the element method. You look at the element of the sign your planet is in. If your planet is in a fiery sign Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, you start counting your 9 divisions from Aries.
Okay.
If it is in an earthy sign, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, you start counting from Capricorn. If it is in an Aries sign, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, you start counting from Libra. And if it's in a watery sign, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, you start counting from Cancer.
Okay, let me test method 1 so the listener can hear it in action.
Okay.
Let's say my moon is in Cancer at 22 degrees. Step 1, Cancer is a watery sign. Step 2, figure out the division. 22 degrees, since each division is 3 degrees, 20 minutes. Let me count up.
Go for it.
3 degrees, 20 minutes, 6 degrees, 40 minutes, 10 degrees, 13 degrees, 20 minutes, 16 degrees, 40 minutes, 20 degrees, 20 minutes. Okay, so 22 degrees falls right into the 7th division of that side.
Excellent math. Yes, 22 degrees is in the 7th division.
Okay, so applying method 1. My moon is in a watery sign, Cancer. The rule says for water signs, always start counting from Cancer. I need to count 7 spaces forward, starting with Cancer as 1. Cancer is 1, Leo is 2, Virgo 3, Libra 4, Scorpio 5, Sagittarius 6, Capricorn 7. So my moon moves to Capricorn in the D9 chart.
Yes, and what that tells us fundamentally is that while your mind, the moon, might be emotional and nurturing on the outside in Cancer, inside your marriage or in your deepest core, your mind is structured, disciplined, and practical in Capricorn.
That is so insightful.
That is the element method. Now let's look at method 2, which I call the mobility method.
Yeah.
Here, we don't care about elements at all. We care if the sign is movable, fixed, or dual.
Okay, totally different approach.
Right. If the planet is in a movable sign, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, you start counting from the sign itself.
Yeah.
If it is in a fixed sign, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, you start counting from the 9th sign away from it. And if it is in a dual sign, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, you start counting from the 5th sign away from it.
Okay, let's test method 2 with the exact same moon in Cancer at 22 degrees. It still falls in the 7th division. Cancer is a movable sign. The rule says for mutable signs, start counting from the sign itself. So I start at Cancer and count 7 spaces. Cancer 1, Leo 2, Virgo 3, Libra 4, Scorpio 5, Sagittarius 6, Capricorn 7. It lands on Capricorn again.
Exactly. It's a different mathematical pathway, but the exact same destination. Some people prefer thinking in elements, some prefer modalities.
That is so cool. It's like checking your work in algebra. Okay, hit me with method 3. What if I hate counting on my fingers?
Method 3 is the math method. No memorizing elements or mobility, no counting on fingers. It is a strict algebraic formula.
Lay it on me.
Step 1. Take the number of fully completed signs and multiply by 9. Step 2. Add your current running division number. Step 3. Divide that total by 12. The remainder you get is the sign of the D9.
Okay, I have to try this one. I need to see if it works. Same moon in Cancer at 22 degrees, which is the 7th division. Step 1. Completed signs. Cancer is the 4th sign, which means 3 signs are fully completed before it Aries, Taurus, Gemini. So 3 completed signs. Multiply 3 by 9. That equals 27.
Right.
Step 2. Add the running division. We know it's in the 7th division. 27 plus 7 equals 34.
Oh, but what?
Step 3. Divide by 12. 34 divided by 12. Well, 12 times 2 is 24. So 34 minus 24 leaves a remainder of 10. The remainder is 10. The 10th sign of the zodiac is Capricorn. Unbelievable. It works every single time.
It is mathematical poetry. The architecture of the sky is perfectly consistent no matter which door you walk through. And this brings us to a vital analytical concept in the D9, and perhaps the most sought-after placement in all of astrology, called Vargottama.
Vargottama. That sounds powerful. What does it mean?
Vargottama occurs when a planet occupies the exact same sign in the D1 birth chart as it does in the D9 Navamsha chart. For example, let's use the mobility method we just learned. If a planet is in the very first division of a movable sign, say it's at 2 degrees of Aries. In D1, it is in Aries. In D9, using the mobility method, movable signs start counting from themselves. So division 1 of Aries is Aries. That planet is in D1 and Aries in D9. It is Vargottama.
Okay, my analogy brain is firing here. If the D1 is how you act in public, and the D9 is how you act behind closed doors in your marriage, a Vargottama planet represents a person who acts exactly the same way in public as they do in private. There's zero hypocrisy. What you see on the outside of the house is exactly what is inside that room.
Yes, and what that tells us fundamentally is that this planet possesses immense integrity of expression. It is grounded, pure, and incredibly strong because its internal reality perfectly matches its external projection. It's not pretending to be something it isn't.
Wow.
If you have a Vargottama Jupiter, your wisdom and generosity are bone deep. If you have a Vargottama Mars, your courage or your temper is absolute in public and in private. It is an undeniable, unshakable force in your life.
That is so profound. If you are listening, definitely check your charts for Vargottama planets. They are your anchors. Well, we have thoroughly mapped the inside of the house when it comes to wealth, siblings, children, and marriage. And right on schedule, that concludes part 1 of our deep dive.
We made it through the personal stuff.
All right, take a breath, shake it out, grab a glass of water, because now we are officially starting part 2 of this masterclass. We are moving from the personal familial charts into the D10, D12, and D30, the charts of the outer world and deep karma.
The stakes definitely get higher from here. We are moving from personal relationships into societal impact, ancestral lineage, and the very root of our psychological and material flaws.
We are getting to the heavy hitters. Let's start with the career. The D10, the Dashamsha chart.
The D10 is the chart of the professional sphere. We analyze it for professional achievements, career trends, honors, success, and the inevitable cycles of promotions and demotions. If the D1 tells us you will have a job, the D10 tells us how high you will actually climb the corporate, political, or societal ladder.
Okay, Dashamsha means dividing by 10. So we take the 30-degree sign and divide it by 10, which gives us perfectly neat slices of exactly 3 degrees each. 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and so on. I love the math on this one. It's so clean.
It is very clean. And the shortcut is equally elegant, but it introduces a new jump. In ODD signs, you start counting from the sign itself.
Standard.
In Eden signs, you start counting from the 9th sign away.
Wait, the 9th sign away. In the D7 for children, we jump to the 7th sign. Why are we jumping to the 9th sign for career?
Think about what the 9th house represents in astrology. It is the house of Dharma, of higher purpose, of fortune, and of the guiding principles we follow. Your true career, your ultimate professional achievement in society, is the active pursuit of your Dharma. So for the receptive, feminine even signs, the counting originates from the house of fortune and purpose.
Everything is connected. Okay, let me do a quick test. Let's say I have Jupiter at 10 degrees of Gemini. Step 1, Gemini is the 3rd sign, so it's ODD. Step 2, 10 degrees, 0 to 3 is 1st, 3 to 6 is 2nd, 6 to 9 is 3rd, 9 to 12 is 4th. So 10 degrees is in the 4th division. Odd sign means start from itself. So I start at Gemini and count 4 spaces. Gemini is 1, Cancer is 2, Leo is 3, Virgo is 4. Jupiter goes to Virgo in the D10.
Flawless. Now, for the analysis, because this is where a lot of beginners get confused about money in astrology, if we connect this to the bigger picture, I want to draw a critical distinction. We are looking at the D10 today, which shows earned income.
Earned income, okay.
Shows the wealth generated through your personal effort, your sweat equity, the hours you put into your career, the value you actively provide to society. It shows the fortune that resides in your professional actions.
As opposed to what? Unearned income. Like finding money on the street.
Exactly like that. Our sources draw a sharp line between the D10 and another chart, the D11 Dashamsha, which we aren't covering in full today. But the text explicitly states the D11 shows unearned wealth, legacies, inheritances, lottery winnings, gambling, investments that mature without your daily input, money that requires no professional effort from you.
Oh, that is a huge distinction. So if a listener is looking to change jobs or decide if they should push for a promotion or wondering why they aren't getting recognized at work, is the D10 the chart they check?
Absolutely. The D10 shows where your good fortune resides professionally. If you have a terrible boss and want to know if a move to a new industry will bring you honor or a demotion, the transits and planetary periods operating in your D10 chart will give you the microscopic view of your career trajectory. It shows your professional reputation.
That is incredibly practical. Okay, moving deeper into the karmic layers. The D12, the Dashamsha chart.
Dashamsha is division by 12. 30 degrees divided by 12 gives us slices of exactly 2 degrees and 30 minutes each.
What room of the house are we in now? We've done wealth, siblings, kids, spouse, career.
We are in the ancestral hall. The D12 is analyzed for all matters relating to the parents. Astrologers differentiate between the mother and the father by looking at their respective planetary significators within this chart, the moon for the mother, the sun for the father.
Okay.
But it goes much deeper than just do you get along with your folks. The text states that the D12 is the mystical link between past and future lives. It deals with higher consciousness and the karmic lineage you were born into.
So it's not just, my mom is overbearing. It's what is the ancestral trauma or the ancestral blessing I inherited from my maternal line that I am carrying forward.
Yes. And what that tells us fundamentally is that you are a continuation. It shows what you carry forward from the past into this incarnation, encoded through the DNA and the psychology of the parents you chose or were assigned to in this life.
And the math for this one, how do we calculate our ancestral lineage?
This is genuinely the easiest shortcut of them all. It is entirely perfectly cyclic. You always start counting from the sign the planet is posited in. There are no odd or even rules, no elements, no modalities to memorize. It is a pure, continuous circle.
So no matter what, if I'm in the 5th division, I just count 5 spaces from wherever the planet is.
Precisely. If you are in Aries in the 6th division, you count 6 signs starting from Aries and land in Virgo. If you are in Taurus in the 6th division, you count 6 signs starting from Taurus and land in Libra.
I love the metaphor hidden in that math. It's like unbroken links in a chain of DNA. It perfectly mirrors the cycle of lineage and reincarnation. You don't jump across the street. You don't jump to a shrine. It's just a direct, unbroken sequence passing from one generation to the next, endlessly repeating its cycle. The math is a literal metaphor for inherited karma.
That's the beauty of Vedic astrology. The arithmetic isn't arbitrary. It reflects the deep philosophy of how energy moves through time and bloodlines.
Okay, we have reached the final room of the house for this masterclass. The D30, the Dashamsha chart. The outline calls this the shadow side. I'm a little nervous. We're going into the basement, aren't we?
You should be, respectfully. The D30 is the chart of miseries, unhappiness, general inauspiciousness, which the classical texts call arishta, and the deep intrinsic character flaws of the native. It is the chart of your inner demons, your health crises, and the material suffering you are destined to face.
The dark, scary basement where the foundational cracks are?
Yes. Saptamsha means division by 30. So take the 30-degree sign and divide it into 30 individual slices, meaning every single slice is exactly 1 degree.
1 degree, that is microscopic. You sneeze and the planet moves to a different division.
It is the most granular, sensitive chart we are covering today. And the shortcut for calculating the D30 is, well, it's the weirdest one. It breaks absolutely every rule we've learned so far.
How so? I'm ready.
First and foremost, the sun and the moon are strictly, entirely excluded from the D30 chart. They do not rule any of the 1-degree slices. Only the 5 main planets, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, and Venus, are allowed to rule here.
Wait, what? They just get kicked out entirely? In the wealth chart, the D2, the sun and moon were the only rulers. Now they are completely banned.
They're banned from rulership. Furthermore, the divisions aren't equal. It's not 1 planet per degree. They are blocked together in specific, highly unequal groups. Listen to this structure.
Okay, listening.
In ODD signs, the 30 degrees are ruled sequentially like this. Mars gets the first 5 degrees, Saturn gets the next 5 degrees, Jupiter gets the next 8 degrees, Mercury gets the next 7 degrees, and Venus gets the final 5 degrees. That adds up to 30.
Okay, wait. 5, 5, 8, 7, 5. That is incredibly specific and totally irregular compared to everything else we've done. Why does Jupiter get 8 degrees, but Mars only gets 5?
Because the elements they represent have different weights and prevalences in the material world. And in even signs, the order perfectly reverses.
So backwards.
Yep. Venus gets the first 5 degrees, Mercury gets the next 7 degrees, Jupiter gets the middle 8 degrees, Saturn gets the next 5 degrees, Mars gets the final 5 degrees. And the final rule for calculation: odd signs stay in odd signs, and even signs stay in even signs. If you are in an odd sign in D1, your D30 placement will be in the odd sign ruled by that specific planet.
Okay, I have to process this with an example. Let's say my Mercury is at 7 degrees of Libra. Step 1. Libra is an odd sign. The rule for odd signs is Mars gets the first 5 degrees, 0 to 5. Saturn gets the next 5 degrees, 5 to 10. My Mercury's at 7 degrees, so it falls in Saturn's block.
Right.
Step 2. Because Libra is an odd sign, my Mercury has to go to Saturn's odd sign. Saturn rules Capricorn, which is even, and Aquarius, which is odd, so my Mercury goes to Aquarius in the D30.
You navigated that perfectly. It takes a second to think through, but it works. But this raises an incredibly important philosophical question, doesn't it? Why are the sun and moon banned from the D30 chart? Why this strained, unequal blocking of just 5 planets?
Yeah, why are the luminaries missing from our deepest flaws?
Because we must look at what the sun and moon represent in the absolute highest spiritual sense. They are the luminaries. The sun represents the pure, unblemished, eternal soul. The moon represents the pure, reflective cosmic mind. They are pure light.
Okay.
The other 5 planets, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, correspond exactly to the 5 physical elements of material creation: fire, earth, ether, water, air.
Okay, I think I see where this is going.
The D30 is the chart of miseries, flaws, and arishta. Miseries are, by definition, attachments, frictions, and reactions to the dense material world. They are the suffering of physical existence. The pure luminaries of the soul and the pure mind cannot be inherently flawed or miserable. They are divine.
Oh, wow.
They only experience misery when they get trapped in the illusions and imbalances of the 5 physical elements. Therefore, the pure luminaries have absolutely no place in the chart of material suffering. The D30 is a map of where your elemental material makeup is broken, not your soul.
Oh my God, that just gave me literal goosebumps. So the chart of misery excludes the soul because the soul itself cannot be flawed. It's just the 5 elements making up the physical avatar, the meat suit we wear that get corrupted or imbalanced. That is so breathtakingly deep.
Yes, and what that tells us fundamentally is that it is the ultimate diagnostic tool for human suffering. It shows exactly which element is causing your pain. Is it a fiery Mars flaw? A restrictive Saturn-Earth flaw? The D30 maps the exact nature of the illusion trapping you.
Wow. Okay, I need to take a deep breath after that. If you are listening, you might want to literally rewind that last part. Let's start wrapping this up. We have been on an incredible journey today. We started with the D1 outside of the house, and we unlocked the doors to the most important Vargas. We looked at the broad 15-degree chunks of the D2 wealth chart, where the sun and moon run the bank.
And we trace the elemental family trees of our siblings in the 10-degree D3 chart.
We looked at the front doors across the street for our children in the D7.
We connected the math of the signs to the actual constellations in the magnificent D9 Navamsha, finding our true inner strength. We climbed the corporate ladder, looking for our dharma in the 3-degree slices of the D10, cycled through our unbroken ancestral karma in the D12, and finally, we faced our elemental flaws in the microscopic 1-degree slices of the D30 basement.
So what does this all actually mean for you, the listener? Why did we just spend an hour doing celestial fractions and counting on our fingers? It means that you are not just one single 30-degree sun sign. You are not a monolith. You are a profoundly complex, multi-layered diamond, and these Vargas are your specific, unique facets. Please don't be overwhelmed by the math as the shortcuts show. It's all just the beautiful repeating patterns of nature. Active and passive forces, elements and modalities, unbroken chains of DNA.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder until our next deep dive. If our entire lives can be divided into these mathematically perfect fractions, down to a single degree of the sky, does that mean our deepest miseries in the D30 and our greatest professional successes in the D10 are essentially just geometry waiting to be understood?
That is a wild thought. What if your biggest perceived flaw, the thing you hate most about yourself, is actually just a mathematical misalignment of a 1-degree slice in your D30 chart? That it's not a fundamental moral failure of your soul, but just a geometric puzzle you haven't solved yet?
It changes how you view your entire existence. The X-ray isn't murky anymore. You just needed a better microscope.
Something to mull over. Check your degrees, find your Vargas, and we will see you next time.